It's not a stream. If it's not scuffed, oh my Lanta, the hell was that? Oh my god. Oh my god, I'm sorry about that. But yeah, it's not a stream if it's not scuffed, isn't it? Okay. Let me just set this to not be like that. Okay. Let's see. He told me I could set it to whatever I want this time. So 420 it is. Yes, it remembers. Or could you simply not resist giving me the correct time again? Well, I didn't set the time correctly this time, so. Oh my gosh. This game is wild. Ready by the next time you do the game? Cool. Cool, that'd be awesome. Can't wait to see what those sliders are. So. See, I don't know exactly where it's going to pick up.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push.
We can just skip that. So let's see if we can just, if we kind
All
of
of his
start.
co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to
If we
go
go
to the
straight to
meeting
like the
room.
new content
Perhaps he
slide,
had
that
simply
because I
missed a memo.
tried doing this last night, and it didn't. My network was just absolutely taking the piss, and just was not wanting to rock for stream. And oh, there it is. The new content. This is the part that I got to last night, but now we can see it this
Oh,
again.
good. You noticed my sign. Yes, I have something very exciting to show you.
So we're still get to experience this for the first time. Sweet. Good for part deux. Redo. Scuffed edition. Because if it isn't scuffed, then what is VTubing?
You see, Stanley, I've been reflecting on the Stanley Parable and about how roundly disappointing this ultra deluxe version has turned out to be. The original Stanley Parable was a landmark, and any new content for it should live up to that legacy. So forget this ultra deluxe nonsense. I say we take it one step even further. Which is why I'm very proud to announce for the first time ever, the Stanley Parable 2. Yes, you see, isn't this far superior to a measly re-release with a few minor
With a
additions?
Moonbug.
Think of all the new territory we'll cover with a fully fledged sequel. An entirely new experience, built from the ground up. Why, there are so many possibilities. It could go in so many different directions. This is what fans have truly been asking for. Calling it the Stanley Parable 2 is just so much catchier than Ultra Deluxe, don't you think? Ultra Deluxe? What does it even mean? But the Stanley Parable 2, now that's an artistic statement right there. It's future-oriented. It screams progress and innovation and long-term franchising potential.
You got sequel ideas. Yeah, Stanley can throw axes. Stanley gets, what, I think, boons or something. Artistic, intimate wife scene. Free roam mode. Oh yeah, then they scratch out more famous narrator because you can't remove the narrator. He's too good. Dress up mode. Proper gameplay? Question mark. Nude Stanley. New York City jetpack, fuel canisters. Perfect. All great ideas. They're back. 2 doors. New content is out. New content part 2 is in. So you get the old and busted, and then you get the new hotness with the cool red section, the boring sections. Hey yo, hey lonely rabbit, how are you? Welcome in. Hope you're having a good night, evening, time zone, wherever you're at. And you're welcome for the invite. And actually, because I want to break out something that I haven't done. But let's see, I think I still have it. Rugby dull, but you happy? Well, I'm glad. I'm glad I still have the old one. The old heart emote that I have with the trans pride, and then I have the new one. But always good to have both. And yeah. Still say I really want this Google Sheets look. But yeah, slide number 5, that's pretty much the tits. Let's see. Oh yeah, because you got 2 Stanleys for the price of 1.
Now, to be clear, I haven't quite nailed down what exactly the Stanley Parable 2 is going to be, but let's take a look at some of the features I've been developing for it. I figure that if I can loosely organize a handful of interesting concepts, that surely the game will sort of naturally spring up around them. It'll all work itself out. Game development is much more of a fuzzy magic than anything scientific or logical, really.
It's true. It just all happens magically. Such a massive space. Jesus.
Here we are. Go on, try out some of the new features.
The button that says the name of the player that is playing the game. Hear your name in the game. Alright, don't mind if I do.
For the Stanley Parable 2, I asked myself, what do players really want? And of course, the first and most obvious answer is that they want to be individually recognized and validated as people. So with that in mind, my first addition to the game is this button which speaks the name of the person playing the game. Isn't that wonderful?
Jim.
Sorry, I should have clarified. Right now, the button only says the name Jim. But
Jim.
of course, in the final game, this button will say your name, whatever name that is. Here, let's have you role-play as Jim to really simulate the full experience of this feature. Just play along. I promise you'll love it. Okay, here we go. Let's take a deep breath, clear your mind, forget whoever you are, and simply become a person named Jim. I want you to imagine...
Jim.
Whoa, hold on. I wasn't finished setting up the backstory. If you don't properly roleplay as Jim, then you'll never understand the impact of this button. Otherwise, it's just a stupid button that says somebody else's name. Okay, we're doing it again, and this time let me finish first. Now, allow yourself to become Jim. Imagine yourself driving to work as Jim, playing frisbee on the weekends as Jim, staying up all night for a popcorn and horror movie sleepover as Jim, developing a crippling substance addiction as Jim,
Oh my god.
rediscovering yourself through fringe religious groups
Religious
as Jim,
groups.
and finally dying a slow death at an old age, surrounded by members of your cult as Jim. Do you feel it in your soul?
Well, you see,
Are
everybody
you
in the
really,
cult
truly Jim right
is known
now?
as
If
and known
so,
by the name
then
Jim.
please step
It's just the
forward
Jim
and press
cult.
the button.
But yeah, only Jims will be able to relish in this sublime beauty.
Jim.
Yes, you see? What a thrill, what a rush. That was you. The button described you. Do it again, do it again.
Jim.
Oh, it hits even harder the second time. If this were the only new feature in the Stanley Parable 2,
love
it
this
would
thing so
still be
much.
worth the money. let's take a break from the gym button. I'm too emotionally drained from all of this personal validation.
Like how they have, road to the perfect button. Too big. Too small. Just right. Like, I mean, look how big that button is. Like, jeeps. And too small. Just way too small. Let's see what we got.
I suppose I could allow only people named Jim to play the Stanley Parable too. That would actually save me the work of finishing this feature. An epilogue would be fun, wouldn't it, Stanley? Yes, it would go at the end of the, well, we'll figure that out later.
Figure that out later, Once you finally figure out what the ending's gonna be. I mean, look how big that Stanley is. Jeez. But everybody needs that. We all need it. Settings World Champion. Infinite Hole. Free achievement. Let's go get a Settings World Champion. Oh, come on. Let me in. They won't let me in. They said no. No time for you. Next time. Next time we will get in there. I guess we can get the free new and easy achievement. Can't believe it's that simple. I mean, look at how happy Stanley looks with his achievement. Just pull a lever, receive a new achievement. No more steps, it just works. Oh, all right.
Now, here's something special. You remember that broken test achievement that got left in the game on accident?
Yes.
Well, I'm developing a technology to simply give you the achievement. Yes. You see, you'll come to this lever, and when you pull it, the achievement will be given to you. It's a Okay, perhaps I should have clarified. This is technology that will exist. Right now, the achievement is still fully broken. I'm not a wizard, Stanley, but I guarantee it will be fixed in the sequel to at last satisfy the hordes of ravenous fans all over the world who have been uproariously demanding this feature. Gamers, we hear you, and I promise it will happen.
I wanted that achievement. Alright, I guess we'll go find the infinite hole then.
What else? What other exhibits haven't we seen yet?
Time and depth, hole like infinity. Following you distant space, time, distant future, distant past. Space like infinity, time like infinity. Hole like infinity is different than all those. Hole entrance. Just more hole. More and falling. How deep can we dig? The holy moly. Look, it just goes down and then then curls back up and then goes back down again.
Stanley, here's an idea that I'm truly fond of. It's never been done before in a video game. This is in fact a hole that you can fall down forever. That's right. Infinite falling. You can fall until the end of time if you like. A stunning leap forward for video games as a medium. You see, isn't it wonderful? One of my more ingenious concoctions, if I do say so. Now then, since you've gotten to see the infinite hole, you can press the teleport button to pop back up to the top, and we can continue onward. Now, I don't mean to be a bummer, but I do recommend you use the teleport button to go back to the top. Maybe do it on the sooner rather than later spectrum of things.
I just wonder how far we go.
Okay, Stanley, I don't know quite how to say this tactfully, but it's possible that I slightly exaggerated the infinite nature of the hole. Is it a very, very deep hole? To be certain it is. It's an extremely deep hole. I don't want anyone to say that it isn't an astonishingly deep hole. It is. Is it infinite? Well, that sort of depends on your definition of infinity. From one perspective, the infinite is merely philosophical in nature. It's more of a... Okay, well, good for you. You found the bottom of the hole. You found me out, Stanley. I'm a liar and a cheat, and you're so clever. Look, I think the issue here is just that you're unusually fascinated by falling. What normal person actually wants to fall infinitely? I figured the hole was as deep as anyone would actually need. Don't you put this on me. Maybe you're the problem. Look, things got a little heated there. I think we both said some things we didn't mean. Why don't we just put all this behind us and agree to just call the hole mostly infinite? If that works for you, then go ahead and press the teleport button to warp up to the top of the hole and we can move on. I'll just be up here when you're ready.
Great. Now, I'm very excited to show you even more of my idea. Oh, for heaven. You see, I was right. The problem is you. The problem is that you like holes too much. Not normal. A normal person would have said, yep, that's an infinite hole right there. Goes on forever till the end of time. Don't need to see it all, but not you. Oh, no, 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 no. You have a weird sort of...
Oh, wait.
Did
It's shorter.
the hole seem even shorter to you this time? I couldn't help but feel like you spent a little less time in there than you did before. I mean, admittedly, I didn't make an infinite hole, but I didn't think it was that not infinite. Well, I suppose once again there's nothing to do here. If you decide you've had enough of the hole, you can hit the teleport button and come join me up above.
Eyebrow waggle. If you know what I mean. So everybody loves holes. You know, just go. Not that. Do that. Just go. Yeah. No, this narrator person seems pretty genuine. He's pretty genuine. He's a pretty nice guy. You know.
Had enough? I'm positively thrilled.
Oh no.
Gosh, how could I have guessed? You're back in the hole. If this starts to become a thing where... Wow. Okay. Yes. I'm starting to become extremely certain that the hole is not only not infinite, but that it's growing steadily less and less infinite. I suspect that I'm starting to hit the point where it's no longer feasible to call the hole infinitely deep, even by the lax overall standards for accountability and marketing. What's going on here? Stanley, I have no explanation for the uncertain nature of the hole's length. Here, let's try something. Let's pop back up to the top, and we'll see if it gets any shorter. Well, there it is. The shame of my... How is this still appealing to you? I know you're obsessed with holes, but at this depth, I just can't see this scratching the itch. Oh, who am I to judge? You just do whatever it is you're here to do and hit the teleport button when you're ready to move on. Is the, teleport button not working? You sure?
Yeah, I'm
Well,
sure.
I mean, I really don't have an explanation. It was working just a moment ago. Still nothing? Well, I suppose there is one thing I can do to fix this. I'm out. Goodbye, Stanley. You
No.
couldn't bear to be away from the
No,
hole,
don't leave
and now you'll get
me.
more time with it than you could ever have asked for. It's a win for everyone. You get to be with the hole, I get to do literally anything else. Take care, Stanley.
No.
I hope you and the hole have a wonderful rest of eternity together.
Am I just now stuck here? Just how it is? Me in the hole? Wait. Come back new. I guess it's just us in the hole now. We do have Mr. Hole. Wait, the hole's getting deeper. We're going down. We got the hole, we have cigarette butts, we have some papers, and we got a mug. It's a new mug. Well. We are gonna ride this out. We must now see where we go. It's a new adventure. Whoa, I can change my perspective? Yo. Just gets better. It's just these like little things. They're just like awesome. Oh, I can change them. Whoa! Look at it's like Robot Stanley. Thanks for the follow. Whoa! What'd I turn into? Upside down, Stanley! Yes.
Stanley? Stanley? Stanley!
What?
Oh, good, you're awake. It seems you had sort of dozed off there,
Oh.
drifting away into dreamland. But we can't have that, Stanley, because this hole is just so darn fascinating that I want you to be wide awake for every second of it. You don't want to miss a single moment. So how about if I just pop in from time to time and wake you up to keep you really, truly focused on the hole? From the looks of things, you and I will have many, many years here in this hole, and I'm looking forward to all of them. Stay alert, Stanley. I'll be back. Toodle-pip.
I guess we're now going to. Oh. What's it gonna do? Where's it gonna put me? Oh, okay.
Here we are. Go on. Try out some of the new features.
All right. This one says office decorations. And look, I like how it says now it says mostly infinite hole. We didn't get that much alone time with the whole with the
Okay, I'll
hole.
be honest, I haven't yet decided on this one. I think that in the new version, the office could use a bit of decoration, like balloons. But I'm undecided on Get Well Someday and Happy 12th Birthday. Which would you go with?
All right. Which one do you think we should go with? Get well someday, or happy 12th birthday stepniece? You know, to help brighten up these offices, like the break room, offices. We gotta get some balloons up in this bitch. But we gotta know if we want get well someday or 12th birthday for somebody's stepniece. Like, because that's a very interesting stepniece. 12th birthday? 12th birthday it is.
You know, sometimes when you solicit another person's opinion, it makes you realize that you knew which one you actually really wanted all along. Get well someday it is.
Thanks for the follow, I sell cabbages. Yeah. Thank you for the lovely message. Hope you're having a good evening, daytime, morning, time zone, wherever you're at. And now you could have the get well someday and all the
Or actually, maybe I should have gone with... No, I've made my decision. We're moving on.
Let's see, the Stanley Parable 2 reassurance bucket. I could use a nice bucket.
A common complaint of the Stanley Parable was that it was confusing and paradoxical, that it engendered a chaotic sense of reckless despair in those who played it. Well, I'm happy to say that after much consideration, I've engineered a clever solution to this fundamental problem with the game. It's the Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket. You see, Stanley, anytime you're holding the bucket, a sense of calm and ease will fill your mind and your heart. It's true. As long as you hold on to the bucket, the many disorienting contradictions of the Stanley Parable will feel perfectly normal and perhaps even comforting. You may even come to long for the gentle embrace of jarring cognitive dissonance while the bucket is in your arms. And to be honest, it's a much more convenient solution for me than actually redesigning the game to be less uncomfortable. Can you imagine what a pain in the ass that would be? Yes, the bucket is the perfect solution.
Everybody needs a emotional support bucket. See?
Can you feel it? The glow of comfort, even in the face of crushing despair, must already be sweeping through your body. And in fact, can I
The
say that
bucket
I
bucket,
do believe
yes.
the bucket lends you an air of charisma as
You
well.
can give a fuck it when
I
you're
think
holding
that
the
just
bucket, but if you're not holding the
has made
bucket, you
the
cannot give the
slightest
bucket.
bit more attractive as a person. The benefits of the bucket seem
Only
to go
when
on
you're
and on,
holding
don't
it.
they?
You
All
have the
this
power.
and more await you in the Stanley Parable 2.
Taking this bucket. This bucket's mine now. This is my dang bucket. This is gonna be a great bucket. We're gonna have a good
Does
time.
anyone give out awards for most enjoyable bucket in a video game? That really should be an award if it isn't already.
Jump circle. Let's see. New features, new contents, new ideas. Unlimited power. Yes. Red is the new orange. Whole new offices. That's what you need. Ray trace. More of the same, but in a good way. Consistent quality with just the right amount of change. The baby is all grown up with fiery bankruptcy. Let's see. I want to go to the jump circle and have the giant Stanley. Collect them all. Can you find them all? Yeah, we gotta find all the collectibles. Oh, see, this is a perfect place for us to use the bucket.
Ah, collectibles. Now it's a real video game. In the Stanley Parable 2, you'll run around gathering up these miniature Stanley figurines. And what's truly innovative is that there will be no reward for collecting all of them.
No.
I don't want to stifle the intrinsic joy of watching a number go up. You simply collect all of them, and then you move the hell on with your unremarkable life.
Look at that. Well, 1 of 6.
God, it really is the worst when you collect everything in a video game and then they give you a big fancy reward for it. Absolutely tragic.
Never heard of such a mechanic. I really want to see it. Where's the jump circle? In. Oh, is that it? Look, it's a
You know
jump
what,
circle.
Stanley? I actually think the jump circle was a pretty good idea. I'd like to hang on to that for the sequel.
Just gonna jump all day. It's giving Far Cry a run for its money. God, I was actually thinking about Far Cry today. Like Far Cry 3, actually. Man, I love Far Cry 3. I wish I could just play it again. Just like not knowing any of it, but just like kind of just forgetting the whole thing and just being able to play it again fresh. That'd be so sweet. Because I mean, Voss is such a great villain. Have I ever told you the definition of insanity?
All right. Have you seen everything you wanted to? Ready to move on now?
Yes, I am.
So, Stanley, what do you think? Do you like all of the new features? Yes, I know it's not exactly clear yet how exactly these features will come together as one single coherent video game, but I can feel it in my soul. It's going to work. There's definitely a good game in there somewhere. Say, let's do an experiment. I'll arrange these new features together, and we'll see whether or not it coheres into a meaningful gameplay experience. Okay, are you ready? Here it is. I give you the Stanley Parable 2.
So good.
I mean, there's potential here, right? It's sort of... Okay, never mind. Hold on.
You got the
Let me do
infinite
a
hole though,
different
and you got the button that
arrangement.
says your name.
Okay, yes.
If your name is
Yes,
Jim.
this is much better. I feel good about this. Here we go. Version 2.
2 infinite holes.
Who am I kidding, Stanley?
Collectibles,
This
future and
isn't
buckets.
a coherent video game at all. It's a lot of gags.
It is a
And
lot
I
of
do
gags.
very much enjoy creating gags, but they don't add up to anything. I wanted more than anything to create a sequel that would capture all the magic of the first game. I wanted fans to love it. No matter how good these gags are, they won't stand on their own. They would need the structure and the gameplay of the original. Wait, maybe that's it. I can take the original Stanley Parable and simply, well, insert a few of my new features into it. Tastefully, of course. With respect. With care for the vision and integrity of the original game. Would it possibly work? I suppose it could. But it would need a really, really tremendous title screen. A title screen that says with bold and uncompromising conviction, "This is the Stanley Parable 2. Let me see if I can whip something up. All right, perfect. Go ahead. Take a look.
Watch this. Oh my god, it's Stanley Parable 2. I feel like playing this because I actually really like this. Man, I got my water. It's like, you know, you hear this is a cohesive as your philosophy courses in college. I mean, if my philosophy courses were at least like as engaging as this game, I probably would not have fallen asleep as much. Definitely would have made sociology way better. I mean, I do remember the one thing I always remember from my philosophy class that I took, 'cause I took one, it was like during the summer, the one that thing I really remember from it was we watched an episode of Black Mirror. And I was like, that was like the most engaged I'd been that day. Well, it's like it's like that movie, and I think it was then there was like another. She was like that. It was like one of the first episodes from the first season of like it was like the White Bear, and then she showed like a movie, and that was pretty good too. It had like Scarlett Johansson in it, but she really wasn't like a main character in that. But it was just I remember just those. It's like and that just made it a lot better. But yeah, that class introduced me to Black Mirror, and oh god, it's so good.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a
Look, you got the
company in a big
balloons.
building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others
true.
might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job.
I mean, it really helped teach the concepts
Stanley
besides the light novel that someone made of like
And then
all
one
the
day,
super like
something
well-known
very
philosophers
peculiar
had been turned into anime girls.
Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one
Which I wish they made like an
single
English
order
version
had
of it.
arrived on the monitor for him to
They
follow.
never. I haven't
No
seen a
one had
translation
showed
of
up
it,
to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi.
but the artwork was
Never
adorable as
in all
hell.
his years at the company had this happened. This complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Balloons, balloons.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Reassurance bucket.
Stanley picked up the bucket.
Well, I'm glad to have you stop by. You know, heart. I wish I could do the hard hands. I need to get that. Glad to have you stop by. You know, hope it doesn't get too busy for you.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
I guess we'll enter the door on our left this time.
Still no one was here.
No one.
Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd find answers.
Oh, Stanley, can you feel it? The broom closet. It wants the bucket. You can feel that, can't you? The aura of jealousy. It's as clear as day. This broom closet believes it deserves the bucket. I can really feel it now. It's a bucket. It belongs in a broom closet. That's what the broom closet is trying to say here. It's supposed to go with the other cleaning supplies. Good for you, Stanley. Don't give in. Don't hand over the bucket. I know how hard it must be, given the pressure.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
Oh, we can't go in the room with the elevator. No, I wanted to go in there.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire if not for the soothing presence of the bucket. Even now, in his darkest of hours, did the bucket's warmth and guiding light pierce the dark clouds of confusion and chaos. It would be with him always. The bucket would, and he knew it. The two of them were inseparable. At this point, Stanley was so absorbed in the tender spiritual connection he shared with the bucket that he didn't notice the keypad behind the boss's desk. Nor in his bliss of simply being near the bucket did he have any notion that the PIN number for the keypad was 2845. But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
Was the bucket all along? Yo!
You found one of them. One of the miniature Stanley figurines. Remember, no reward for collecting all of these, only the intrinsic pleasure of a job well done. You can't buy that sort of happiness, Stanley. God knows I've tried. So, I implore you to savor each and every moment you come across one of these beautiful figurines.
I'll be the judge of that. Who knows if there's not an achievement set up for this? That is why we must collect all the minifigures.
The elevator raced downward, plummeting towards an unknown fate. It would be all Stanley could do to keep himself together, if not for the bucket. Soothing him, comforting him, reassuring that in this darkest moment of uncertainty, he would be all right. The bucket is here for you, Stanley. Everything will be fine.
Yo, trying to shock me?
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility. Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley and the bucket would both meet a violent death.
I'll be the judge of that.
The door behind them was not shut. Stanley and the bucket still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley and the bucket were knowingly walking forward into a very painful death for each of them.
Where I go, the bucket goes. It's like, nope. Peekaboo. Eek. Kaboo.
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley and the bucket inched closer to their demise, Stanley reflected on how meaningless the bucket's warmth and comfort had turned out to be.
To be sure, it puts the mind and the soul at ease to embrace the bucket, but what use is a sense of ease when you're about to be crushed to death? This is what Stanley thought to himself, and he sort of kicked himself for wasting so much time carrying a bucket everywhere. Farewell, Stanley.
"Farewell, Stanley," cried the narrator, as Stanley and the bucket were led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, the bucket's life came to an end as it was crushed violently to death.
All right.
It was a shame, the death of such a magnificent bucket. It's true that all buckets are radiant in their own way, but this one stood above the rest. It was a glorious bucket to behold.
The bucket welcomes you to the grand exhibit. You are standing at the precipice of knowledge, much like a bucket itself. The human mind is frequently empty within. A cavernous void, but through use of the exhibit in front of you, the mind becomes full and enriched and unsubstantiated. Knowledge of the bucket and its history is the only true knowledge we really have. Will you take what you learned here out with you into the world? Will you accept with an open mind what may be challenging about the information in this exhibit? Will you change the lives of yourself and your loved ones as a result of this exhibit? Or will you turn a blind eye and continue to live as you were in ignorance and darkness? Well, let's see. Let's see what this whole bucket exhibit's about, man. Let's go.
Can you see how arrogant it was for Stanley to take a bucket like this and to claim it for his own? Can you see the hubris that blinded him? Can you see that the bucket is far more noble than Stanley will ever be in his short life?
It's let's see, 25 buckets. A photograph of 25 buckets, the greatest number of buckets ever captured on camera. The photographer experienced catatonic shock for several weeks as a result of the euphoria from exposure to this many buckets at once. Like, look at how many buckets there are. Just buckets upon buckets upon buckets. The Inferno bucket. A replica of the Inferno bucket, which in the medieval era was so powerfully alluring that it drove dozens of nations to war, with one another for control of it. Billions died, and yet, in spite of it all, the simple fact remains: no one can control a bucket. A bucket with two handles. What? This bucket has two handles. Such a design has never been created in real life, having been deemed too dangerous and recklessly experimental. Every year, dozens are put to death just for attempting it. Let's see. A stress bucket, presented without commentary. Let's get stress bucket, an analogy. You put worrying, negative forecasting, negative thinking, lack of reassurance into the bucket. Vulnerability equals size and strength of the bucket. Stress equals the level of water in the bucket. And coping strategies equals holes. Rest and relaxation. Doing something you enjoy. Rest and relaxation. Let's see. Oh, yo, we got cave paintings. So while we know the buckets predate the existence of mankind, we do not know how long. This cave drawing depicts early man's discovery of the practical use of the bucket, by which time the bucket had already likely been around for several millennia. Notice in these drawings how the bucket is allowing itself to be used, having judged humanity to be worthy of its treasures. Look at it. It's like, bam. Like, we got everything, you know. This bucket's just like the absolute
No man can
shit.
own a bucket, and certainly not a bucket as dazzling to behold as this one. It is man who should kneel before the bucket.
The hanging bucket. This piece symbolizes the necessary relationship between bucket and humanity. However clear our grasp of the bucket may be, there's yet more that is always out of reach. This distance inevitably is for our own good. Look at it. Then we... Oh, nice! We can grab the hanging bucket. It is ours. And ours alone.
But there is something we can do. Something we can do together, you and I, that will right this terrible wrong.
Oh, no.
Let Stanley die. Let him be crushed by the
No.
machine. Don't reset the game. Don't give him another opportunity to run off with another beautiful bucket. We can save the world's buckets from their treatment as tools and implements if only we let Stanley die together. The bucket shall take its place as ruler, as leader, as commander of a new world, a new vision for...
Get squished. Get squished.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Gotta look for figurines. We need figurines.
Stanley lifted the bucket into his arms, and a wave of comfort rushed over him. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest. This was not the correct way to the meeting room.
It's not.
But
we're
Stanley
going
had
this way.
felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this better than the No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No, said the bucket. Don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the cargo lift.
But Stanley feared that any path he walked might lead to the separation of himself and the bucket, his dearest friend. So he threw himself to his death, that they might die in one another's arms. How deeply touching.
Alright, I'm gonna take a quick BRB. I'll be right back. Alright. Alright. Let's go get that bucket.
All of his
Do
co-workers
not give
were
a
gone.
bucket.
What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed him. The confusion and the chaos all seemed to melt away as Stanley embraced the bucket.
Speed run. We must go.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back, and so the two of them detoured through the maintenance section and walked straight ahead to the opposite door.
We did not go through straight to the opposite door. We went back down.
Oh, good, Stanley. I'm glad you found your way here. I knew you'd find this place eventually.
Yo, what the hell? Alright, let's see.
You see, your friends and I are concerned for you, Stanley. We've come together here because we care about you very much. It's this bucket you're carrying around everywhere. The bucket isn't even from the original Stanley Parable. It's just sequel content. We're the ones that matter, Stanley. Classic characters from the first game, like the Adventure Line and the Broom Closet. Because that's what fans want from a sequel. They want more of their favorite jokes, not this bucket that they've never seen before. Yes, I know I'm the one who gave you the bucket, but you're spending too much time with it. Don't you want another story involving the Adventure Line? We could make the Adventure Line go somewhere new. Yes, yes, that's what the fans want. Let's do it.
Fine, we'll follow the adventure line. We'll see where it goes.
Whee! Look at that wacky line. Who knows where it'll go off to next? Oh, and it played some silly music as well. Now this is what the Stanley Parable is all
bring that
about.
to me and
Don't you remember all those great jokes from the original dialogue?
Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers.
What the hell?
Yes, it's as classic now as it was back then. Let's do it for the fans, Stanley. Let's give them more content exactly like this. But if we want to do that, you're going to have to give something up.
You want me to give up the bucket? Well, I can't just give up the bucket. It's a part of me now. This is one with me.
Don't you get it, Stanley? We need to get rid of the bucket. That's why I'm very proud to introduce a brand new character. This is the Bucket Destroyer. I think it'll make a wonderful new addition to the rich lore of the Stanley Parable. True, it also was not in the original game, but it's such a well-fleshed-out character with so much personality that to me it already feels as though it's been part of the cast all along. Don't you agree? Can you guess what the Bucket Destroyer does? Surely you don't need me to spell it out for you.
You just spell it out for me.
Go ahead now, Stanley. Say goodbye to the bucket, and then pop it into the machine when you're ready.
Goodbye, bucket.
Now listen to me. It's crucial that you give it the bucket. I don't know what the Bucket Destroyer will do if it can't destroy your bucket. Destroying buckets is all it knows. That is its singular personality trait. Sure, I can hear you saying, how does a character with only one personality trait deserve to join the pantheon of beloved Stanley Parable characters? Well, you see, if you were to really explore the Bucket Destroyer, you would see that its desire to crush buckets is so densely loaded with complexity and nuance that it's really like 10 personality traits. What other object in this game can you even say that about? The broom closet? Certainly not. I wonder what sort of Bucket Destroyer merchandise the fans will be clamoring for after this. Okay, the Bucket Destroyer is getting very upset now. You'll have to hurry and feed it. We can't get back to the classic Stanley Parable characters like the Adventure Line or the Bucket Destroyer until you crush that damn bucket. Quickly now, the fans are waiting. Do it, the fans, Stanley. Give the fans what they want. Hurry and...
Made it go, ooh.
The Bucket Destroyer, my prized creation. You had so much potential. We were going to do such marvelous things with you, tell such
Marvelous,
spellbinding
things.
stories about you. All of it squandered now. Goodbye, new friend. For the moment in time that you were here, you were magnificent. All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. Warmth spread through Stanley's arms. With the bucket in his arms again, he was home. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this better than the meeting room? Yes, Stanley thought to himself. Yes, perhaps it truly was. How insightful the bucket turned out to be. No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back, and so the two of them detoured through the maintenance section and walked straight ahead to the opposite door. Oh, good Stanley, I'm glad you found your way here. I knew you'd find this place eventually. You see, your friends and I are concerned for you, Stanley. We've come together here because we care about you very much. It's this bucket you're carrying around everywhere. The bucket isn't even from the original Stanley Parable. It's just sequel content. We're the ones that matter, Stanley. Classic characters from the first game, like the Adventure Line and the Broom Closet. Because that's what fans want from a sequel. They want more of their favorite jokes, not this bucket that they've never seen before. Yes, I know I'm the one who gave you the bucket, but you're spending too much time with it. Don't you want another story involving the adventure line? We could make the adventure line go somewhere new. Yes, yes, that's what the fans want. Let's... Whee! Look at that wacky line. Who knows where it'll go off to next? Oh, and it played some silly music as well. Now this is what the Stanley Parable is all about. Don't you remember all those great jokes from the original dialogue?
Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers.
Yes, it's as classic now as it was back then. Let's do it for the fans, Stanley. Let's give them more content exactly like this. But if we want to do that, you're going to have to give something up.
Fine, you can have the bucket this time. That way I'm not destroying space-time continuum. Okay, let's see.
Don't you get it, Stanley? We need to get rid of the bucket. That's why I'm very proud to introduce a brand new character. This is the Bucket Destroyer. I think it'll make a wonderful new addition to the rich lore of the Stanley Parable. True, it also was not in the original game, but it's such a well-fleshed-out character with so much personality that to me it already feels as though it's been part of the cast all along. Don't you agree? Can you guess what the Bucket Destroyer does?
Nope.
Surely you don't need me to spell it out for
Yes,
you.
I do.
Go ahead now, Stanley. Say goodbye to the bucket, and then pop it into the machine when you're ready. Now listen to me. It's crucial that you give it the bucket. I don't know what the bucket destroyer will do if it can't destroy your bucket. Destroying buckets is all it knows. That is its singular personality trait. Sure, I can hear you saying, how does a character with only one personality trait deserve to join the pantheon of beloved Stanley Parable characters? Well, you see, if you were to really explore the Bucket Destroyer, you would see that its desire to crush buckets is so densely loaded with complexity and nuance that it's really like 10 personality traits. What other object in this game can you even say that about? The broom closet? Certainly not. I wonder what sort of Bucket Destroyer merchandise the fans will be clamoring for after this. Okay, the Bucket Destroyer is getting very upset now. You'll have to hurry and feed it. We can't get back to the classic Stanley Parable characters like the Adventure Line or the Bucket Destroyer until you crush that damn bucket.
Damn.
Quickly now. The fans are waiting. Do it, the fans, Stanley. Give the
Doing it, trying
fans
to do
what
the
they
fans.
want. Hurry and...
Well, I guess the fans aren't going to get what they want this time around. We'll just have to wait until the next time. Because damn if you do, damn if you don't.
The Bucket Destroyer. My prized creation. You had so much potential. We were going to do such marvelous things with you, tell such spellbinding stories about you. All of it squandered now. Goodbye, new friend. For the moment in time that you were here, you were magnificent.
Just like the scripting is it's just amazing sometimes. The end is never the end. The end is never the end.
How long was I sitting there? Stanley wondered to himself. Minutes? Days? Centuries? Did something cruel?
Stanley picked up the bucket and smiled. He'd never be alone again, not truly alone, not with the bucket around.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his...
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the cargo lift. Good,
Said the bucket.
now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
In here, said the bucket. Go into this dark room over here.
Stanley once again obeyed blindly.
Now pick up the phone.
We haven't picked the phone at least once. This is the first time.
This is the sad story of a man named Stanley and his bucket. Once upon a time, I gave Stanley a bucket because I thought he was lonely and could use a friend. And then, very distressingly, he began to believe the bucket could speak to him. The Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket was merely meant to provide the comforting glow of companionship. It doesn't literally talk and give you orders. Whatever Stanley is hearing the bucket say to him is just in his head.
I'm insane.
Lately, I've been concerned about him. Wouldn't you be concerned as well? To see him delusional like this, obsessing over an inanimate metal object? I want to say something to him, but I don't know how I can convince him. I don't know if he'll listen to me. Oh, I'll try anyway. Stanley, can you hear me? Listen to me. It's just a bucket. It can't think, it can't talk. All it will ever truly do for you is effectively transfer a liquid from one location to a different location. That's it. It doesn't do anything else.
Or don't listen aloud, man. Press Y for us to go back home.
You see, he's not listening. He's still taking orders from the bucket. You know, once upon a time it was me he took orders from. Me he trusted and listened to. Now all he cares about is his awful bucket. This stupid hunk of metal. It's sad, but I suppose he doesn't need me anymore. From now on, he's just going to cling to this bucket, this cold, empty bucket, this sort of shiny bucket. Well, I'll give it this. The bucket does have a nice shine to it.
Believe I'm real, don't you, Stanley? Press F to go back home.
Yes, I suppose on closer inspection that it doesn't quite look like your average hardware store bucket. It's just a little more, what am I trying to say? Sturdier, more capable of transporting liquid. Like it would be better at moving an amount of water from one room to another. Oh my God, what am I saying? Better at carrying water from room to room. It's a bucket. It's literally just a bucket. Why do I feel some need to point out the ways in which it's so much more than just a regular bucket?
Press U to go home, to work, to work, at home, to work, to home, to work, to home, to work. Oh.
Oh no. I'm having feelings for the bucket. No. What's going on? Why do I want to be with the bucket? Hear what the bucket has to say. Do anything it asks. What's wrong with me? I don't understand. Perhaps if I had the bucket, this would be less confusing. Yes. The bucket could tell me what to do in this troublesome situation. Stanley, give me the bucket.
No,
give
it's
it
my
to
bucket.
Me. Give me the
My
bucket,
bucket.
Stanley. I need it. Give it to me
Bucket.
now. Give it, or I'll...
It's like, my bucket? You cannot take my bucket.
How long was I sitting there? Stanley wondered to himself. Minutes? Days? Centuries? Did something crucial happen while my senses were turned? He made a note to be more careful with time from now on.
Yo. Sweet.
The good old bucket. Just Stanley and the bucket. Off on another thrilling adventure together.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Trust the completionist instinct.
Oh, Stanley, can you feel it?
Nope.
The broom closet. Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office. But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then, something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. He looked down at the bucket in his arms. Am I crazy? He asked the bucket. The bucket returned his gaze, but said nothing at all. That's strange, Stanley thought. Usually the bucket is a source of guidance and wisdom for me in difficult times such as these. He held the bucket close, yet felt none of its familiar reassurance and comfort. And that's when Stanley realized, this isn't my bucket. It's just a normal, everyday bucket. Someone else's bucket, perhaps. How did I end up with someone else's bucket? This is all terribly wrong. Surely no good would come from this. Who knows what sorts of bizarre hallucinations Stanley might experience without the psychologically grounding presence of his bucket. And indeed, now he noticed that the rooms were repeating, which was, of course, very odd. And now he felt himself floating off the ground. Oh, gracious, he exclaimed. Without my bucket, I've gone truly mad. Where is it? I must find it. Far off in the distance now, he heard it, calling to him.
Stanley! Stanley, it's me, the bucket.
Could it truly be? He rushed forward from room to room, passing by one bucket after the next. None of them were his. None of them were his special bucket.
Come to me, Stanley. Find me.
He had to find the bucket. He had to return to his old friend. It was the only way to truly restore his sanity. And then suddenly, he froze dead in his tracks. He knew where the voice of the bucket had been coming from. The real bucket was inside of him all along. It was incredibly painful. Stanley doubled over in agony and blacked out.
This arc is wild.
This is the story of a woman named Mariella.
What?
Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, picked up her bucket of comfort and security, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town, talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. Right away, she knew what the problem was. This man had no bucket. Of course he'd gone mad, ranting and raving about a narrator describing all of his actions and how everything is predetermined and free will is an illusion and it's all just a video game. It could all have been prevented if only he'd taken his bucket with him. Perhaps he didn't even realize he'd forgotten his bucket at home in the first place. How cruel the world can be, Mariella thought, and she hugged her own bucket even tighter. But of course, she had no time for this. There were a myriad of confusing problems she would soon have to confront at work, for which her bucket would provide absolute guidance and total clarity on everything. Heck yes, she thought to herself, my life kicks ass. And she backflipped all the way to work.
Just never know where it's gonna go with the story.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Where are we going today? The bucket asked. Stanley just smiled. Anywhere they went together would be... Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Maybe we are the collectibles.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office. Another miniature Stanley figurine. This There really must be a snappier name for these things. What about mini-stands? Stanley figs? Or what about Stanlerines? Yes, I think I like that. Another Stanlerine under your belt.
Money in the morning, money in the evening, money for breakfast, money crisp. Yeah, we got, what, 3 minifigs now? Let's see. The bucket. Stanley with the bucket. Stanley with the bucket. Does not give a bucket. Cause he's Stanley with the bucket. It's gonna be Stanley time. Stanley with the bucket. Does not give a bucket. Oh my god. Always good. Go hang out in the elevator. Ooh, another one. 2 more to go. And who knows what's gonna happen.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire if not for the soothing presence of the bucket. Even now, in his darkest of hours, did the bucket's warmth and guiding light pierce the dark clouds of confusion. But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him?
Bucket is all-knowing,
This
just
is
so you know.
certainly the most logical explanation.
So we had a minifig over here. Let's...
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility.
Ooh, is that a button? Press.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves. The monitors jumped to life, and Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock. Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs. The bucket had never seen anything like this, and it very nearly burst into tears as Stanley cradled it gently, reassuring it that everything would be fine.
We must reassure the bucket.
Was the bucket under the mind control facility's influence as well? Had the bucket been told to do things it didn't wish to do? What kinds of things does a bucket want to do or not want to do in the first place? These questions raced furiously in Stanley's feeble mind.
Employee fired. I want to see what it shows. Not really tell.
No! He screamed into the bucket. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control, never! He squeezed the bucket tighter, his one friend in the entire world. At this point, he could trust no one except for the bucket. But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in,
Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he and the bucket would dismantle the controls for good. Two best friends, Stanley and the bucket, up against the world. They high-fived in a really cool way, and the bucket made a sassy comment about taking down the system.
We're gonna take down the system. We gotta do it. Just me and the bucket. Bucket and I. Together forever. To take down an authoritarian regime. Oh, I can't go up there. Sad times. My control's idle, awaiting input.
When at last they came to the
Turn that shit off. Fuck yeah. Let's see what happens.
Stanley and the bucket waited in blackness. Was it over? Yes, they had done it. Stanley and the bucket had defeated their greatest and darkest enemy, freed themselves from the tyrannical grip of the evil mind control machine. Freedom was now mere moments away. Excitedly, the two of them began to discuss the kind of life they wanted to live once they stepped through this massive door. The bucket wanted to learn to roller skate. Stanley wanted to sneeze in every country on Earth. Both of them wanted to begin watching a movie, any movie, but then stop it halfway through and begin watching it in reverse from the end. True, it was a simple life they envisioned, but it was one they'd lived together, with one another to lean on, to trust, to support.
What?
What? Wait. What was happening? Why had the door stopped? Was Stanley and the bucket not about to be freed? An unbearable silence filled the room, lingering in uncertainty, until finally the truth hit Stanley square in the face. This building did not want the bucket to leave. Even the facility itself recognized the incredible calming presence of the bucket, needed the soothing warmth of the bucket, would go to any lengths
I wanted to
to part with the
leave.
bucket. No. Stanley can't leave this place. Not while he has such a precious bucket in his arms. Not while this building has anything to say about it. Stanley realized he would never again leave this very room. But at least he has the bucket. To be trapped eternally in darkness isn't really so bad, Stanley thought to himself. As long as I have my bucket with me, right? I'll be okay, won't I? Stanley gulped. Very soon now, he was about to find out.
Stanley knew the office layout like the back of his hand. It was only a matter of time before he found the others, wherever they were. Just a matter of time. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Because the boss knows. That's what the boss says goes. Bosses suffered losses. That's what the boss chose. Isalira, how are you? How are you doing, love? Glad to see you. It's a Zuby. Yes. How are you? You doing tonight?
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being... Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible, he didn't even have a single minute to just let the narrator talk. That kind of anxiety isn't healthy, so he relaxed for a few moments with some calming New Age music.
Division 2 music, me running into this office. Yeah, that would definitely make this way more intense. Especially if you have the calming New Age music to follow it up.
Feeling soothed and rejuvenated, Stanley calmly walked forward into the opened passageway.
Did you put your name into the goblet of fire? Gandalf said calmly. Too bad we don't have our reassurance bucket. Ooh, nice. I'll have to pull that up. Yeah, after the stream. Maybe I'll use it to drive into
Stanley
work.
walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Yeah, before I get the first half of the trip in the morning.
The lights rose on an enormous
Running
room
some
packed with
experiments.
television
Ooh, do
screens.
tell.
What horrible
If you
secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out? Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing. This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable. Wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again
Glad to hear
exert
that.
its
Glad to hear you
terrible
have
power
good stuff
over
happening.
another human life.
'Cause you deserve
For
it, 'cause you're
he
such a good
would
being.
dismantle the controls once
You deserve all the
and
good things and
for
all the
all.
loves. And all the hugs.
Oh, Stanley, you didn't just activate the controls, did
Oh,
you?
hell yeah, I did.
After they kept you enslaved all these years, you go and you try to take control of the machine for yourself. Is that what you want?
Control for me now?
Control? Oh, Stanley, I applaud your effort, I really do. But you need to understand, there's only so much that machine can do. You were supposed to let it go, turn the controls off, and leave. If you want to throw my story off track, you're going to have to do much better than that. I'm afraid you don't have nearly the power you think you do. For example, and I believe you'll find this pertinent, Stanley suddenly realized he had just initiated the network's emergency detonation system. In the event that this machine is activated without proper DNA identification, nuclear detonators are set to explode, eliminating the entire complex. How long until detonation then? Let's say 2 minutes. Ah, now this is making things a little more fun, isn't it, Stanley? It's your time to shine. You are the star. It's your story now. Shape it to your heart's desires. Oh, this is much better than what I had in mind. What a shame we have so little time left to enjoy it. Mere moments until the bomb goes off. But what precious moments each one of them is. More time to talk about you, about me, where we're going, what all this means. I barely know where to start. What's that? You'd like to know where your co-workers are? A moment of solace before you're obliterated? All right, I'm in a good mood. You're gonna die anyway. I'll tell you exactly what happened to them. I erased them. I turned off the machine. I set you free. Of course, that was merely in this instance of the story. Sometimes when I tell it, I simply let you sit there in your office forever, pushing buttons endlessly and then dying alone. Other times, I let the office sink into the ground, swallowing everyone inside, or I let it burn to a crisp. I have to say this, though, this version of events has been rather amusing. Watching you try to make sense of everything and take back the control wrested away from you, it's quite rich. I almost hate to see it go. But I'm sure whatever I come up with on the next go-around will be even better. My goodness, only 34 seconds left. But I'm enjoying this so much. You know what? To hell with it. I'm going to put some extra time on the clock, why not? These are precious additional seconds, Stanley. Time doesn't grow on trees. Oh dear me, what's the matter, Stanley? Is it that you have no idea where you're going or what you're supposed to be doing right now? Or did you just assume when you saw that timer that something in this room was capable of turning it off? I mean,
maybe.
look at you. Running from button to button, screen to screen, clicking on every little thing in this room. These numbered buttons, no, these colored ones. Or maybe this big red button, or this door. Everything, anything, something here will save me. Why would you think that, Stanley? That this video game can be beaten? Won? Solved? Do you have any idea what your purpose in this place is? Stanley, you're in for quite a disappointment. But here's a spoiler for you. That timer isn't a catalyst to keep the action moving along. It's just seconds ticking away to your death. You're only still playing instead of watching a cutscene because I want to watch you for every moment that you're powerless. To see you made humble. This is not a challenge. It's a tragedy. You wanted to control this world, that's fine. But I'm going to destroy it first, so you can't. Take a look at the clock, Stanley. That's 30 seconds you have left to struggle. 30 seconds until a big boom and then nothing. No ending here, just you being blown to pieces. Will you cling desperately to your frail life, or will you let it go peacefully? Another choice. Make it count, or don't. It's all the same to me, all a part of the joke. And believe me, I will be laughing at every second of your inevitable life from the moment we fade in until the moment I say, happily ever up.
Yo, that's a lot of just paper on the ground. Oh. Finally. Welcome, Stanley, to heaven. Diagnoses: ADHD, inattentive type, generalized anxiety disorder, major depressive disorder. I knew about 1 in 3, but it's not haven't made it official. That's for sure. I totally understand that. I mean, I've been there. You know, I've been doing some of those, like, actually within the past, well, since January. Which I know I'm hoping to get, you know, actually get some, like, concrete data. You know, that way I can have it just in writing. But I'm glad to hear, you know, you finally got some stuff, you know. Getting it to, it's just a lot of buttons that I can keep pressing. not like the newest thing I got. I was like, something for like mood stabilizer, but essentially just because it's like a form of like, again, it's just, you know, not really a formal thing, but like, you know, it's like bipolar. Yeah, this goes on forever, I guess. I'm not sure exactly, unless I like tell it to restart. But I get to press all these buttons. It's amazing. It's just colors. Colors that make you go crazy, especially when I spin really around really fast. I have no idea. It's just gonna go on forever, I guess. Forever and ever. I was hoping to see if I like got one on each row, if that would do anything, but I guess not. So yeah, I'll just begin the game again and see what happens. Now that we've made it to heaven. Oh, all the papers are gone. I guess. Oh no, this is gonna just send me to heaven again, isn't it? It's like I'm not ready to go back to heaven with all the buttons.
I can't wait to tell this story to my co-workers, Stanley thought. How amusing they'll find it. Oh, won't we all just laugh and laugh at the time I thought everyone had gone missing.
Reassurance bucket is back, baby.
A good bucket, a strong bucket,
Buckets.
a humble bucket, a committed bucket, a bucket of culture and distinction.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
And now you get to meet the bucket. This bucket, that's amazing. It's just a great comfort voice.
Oh, Stanley, can you feel it? The
Yes.
broom closet. It wants the bucket. You can feel that, can't you? The aura of jealousy. It's as clear as day. This broom closet believes it deserves the bucket.
It does. It
I
does
can
deserve
really feel
bucket.
it now. It's a bucket. It belongs in a broom closet. That's what the broom closet is trying to say here. It's supposed to go with the other cleaning supplies. Good for you, Stanley. Don't give in. Don't hand over the bucket. I know how hard it must be, given the pressure that the broom closet is putting on your shoulders right now, but you have to be strong. This is your bucket. This is your companion and lifelong friend. You can't hand it over. Oh, no. We're getting into name-calling now, it seems. Is this how low the broom closet has sunk, that it has to resort to this stream of petty insults simply in order to get you to hand over the bucket? Stanley, I never liked this broom closet for a variety of reasons, but even this is worse than I had imagined. And wait, now the broom closet has the gall to imply that you and the bucket are not truly deep and lasting friends? That your relationship is purely superficial and convenient? That your life is so banal and meaningless that you'd feel the same sort of kinship towards any inanimate object which happened to
No,
lay in
my
your
bucket.
path in an even partially enticing manner? Well, I never. Go on, Stanley. Lay into it. Really tell the broom closet off for its demeaning comments.
Yes.
Expand
Tell it off.
on the wide variety of experiences you and the bucket have shared together.
It's true. We've shared
Go through
many
each of them point
different
by point.
journeys together.
Share your journal entries detailing the rich emotional landscape of your feelings for the bucket as they have changed and evolved over the years. Let him have it.
See what happens. It's like,
Okay, I've got you something which I think will help settle this debate once and for all. Here we go.
Look.
There. Now it's settled.
Property
No
of
more
Stanley.
debate,
Look at that.
no more discussion. Take a hike, broom closet, with all your meandering philosophical diatribes about the nature of cleaning supplies and their relationship to broom closets in the natural order of things.
Yeah, suck it, broom closet. This is my bucket, not your
All right,
bucket.
I've got a second sticker back here, and I'm going to slap it on as well because I think it's appropriate. You see, I feel that it works because
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
Executive bathroom time. I got the feeling money's for stealing, but not yours, of course. So that's a lovely purse. I really want this elevator to be more than just standing there. I mean, maybe if I just sit there and wait long enough, they'll do something. Besides just having that smooth elevator music. You know, this is probably the most riveting content you can have on this stream. I mean, just us sitting in a room, in an elevator with a bucket, listening to elevator music, and just sitting here talking about life. Mostly just singing along about a bucket and a guy named Stanley. Really good to do. And hydrate. Do we just keep sitting here? Or do we just tell to stop and then just go back to the boss's office? I want to see how far it would go. You know? But I'm not sure. I feel like it just goes on forever. And never stops. Just gonna go crazy in this elevator.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire if not for the soothing presence of the bucket. Even now, in his darkest of hours, did the bucket's
Good old
warmth and
buckets.
guiding light pierce the dark clouds of confusion and chaos. It would be with him always. The bucket would, and he knew it. The two of them were inseparable. At this point, Stanley was so absorbed in the tender spiritual connection he shared with the bucket that he didn't notice the keypad behind the boss's desk. Nor in his bliss of simply being near the bucket did he have any notion that the PIN number for the keypad was 2845.
I had to try that backwards.
Stanley just sat around twiddling his thumbs.
Yep.
Trying to input anything on the device was useless, since he could never possibly know that the combination was 2845. "2845. Forgot, but it turns out that the panel's emergency override kicked in, and the door just opened all by itself, and Stanley got the hell along with the story. Well, whoop-de-doo.
Just gets bored, tired of you just sitting there. It's like, just, well, fuck it. I'm gonna do it myself.
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley and the bucket would both meet a violent death. The door behind them was not shut. Stanley and the bucket still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley and the bucket were knowingly walking forward into a very painful death for each of them.
We're not walking into the death hole. Not this time. Gotta trick the narrator. Can't let them know our next move.
But of course, Stanley and the bucket thought better of it and realized they simply had too much to live for. The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves.
Nothing. It held nothing.
The monitors jumped to life, and Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock. Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs. The bucket had never seen anything like this, and it very nearly burst into tears as Stanley cradled it gently, reassuring it that everything would be fine.
Was the bucket under the mind control facility's influence as well? Had the bucket been told to do things it didn't wish to do? What kinds of things does a bucket want to do or not want to do in the first place? These questions raced furiously in Stanley's feeble mind. No! He screamed into the bucket. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never! He squeezed the bucket tighter. His one friend in the entire world. At this point, he could trust no one except for the bucket.
Who does not give a fuck it.
But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he and the bucket would dismantle the controls for good. Two best friends, Stanley and the bucket, up against the world. They high-fived in a really cool way, and the bucket made a sassy comment about taking down the system.
Wait, you know, God, cool. You know, like doing those cool high fives, like from the 80s, like, you know, like Top Gun, like volleyball scene type of high five.
When at last they came to the source of the room's power, Stanley and the bucket knew it was their obligation to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for.
You thought I was saying something? No, I'm just doing hype. I just kind of clapping my hands together. Oh.
Stanley and the bucket waited in
I was
blackness.
curious. Someone probably
Was
would
it
think
over?
that. Chop, chop.
Yes, they had done it. Stanley and the bucket had defeated their greatest and darkest enemy, freed themselves from the tyrannical grip of the evil mind control machine. Freedom was now mere moments away. Excitedly, the two of them began to discuss the kind of life they wanted to live once they stepped through this massive door. The bucket wanted to learn to roller skate. Stanley wanted to sneeze in every country on Earth. Both of them wanted to begin watching a movie, any movie, but then stop it halfway through and begin watching it in reverse from the end. True, it was a simple life they envisioned, but it was one they'd lived together, with one another to lean on, to trust, to support. What? Wait. What was happening? Why had the
So
door
close.
stopped? Was Stanley and the bucket not about to be freed? An unbearable silence filled the room, lingering in uncertainty, until finally the truth hit Stanley square in the face. This building did not want the bucket to leave. Even the facility itself recognized the incredible calming presence of the bucket, needed the soothing warmth of the bucket, would go to any lengths not to part with the bucket. No. Stanley can't leave this place. Not while he has such a precious bucket in his arms. Not while this building has anything to say about it. Stanley realized he would never again leave this very room. But at least he has the bucket. To be trapped eternally in darkness isn't really so bad, Stanley thought to himself. As long as I have my bucket with me, right? I'll be okay, won't I? Stanley gulped. Very soon now, he was about to find out. All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Yep, 420. Nice.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Stanley felt lightheaded, butterflies in his stomach, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me. This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself. To put your work aside. To let her back into your life. She's been waiting. That's her, Stanley. You need to be the one to do this. To reach out to her. If you can truly place your faith in another, then pick up the phone. As Stanley picked up the phone, a white light engulfed him, filling him not just with radiance, but with hope. Hope for a life reunited one... Wait. Oh, goodness. Stanley, did you just unplug the phone?
I did. I unplugged the
that
phone.
wasn't supposed to be a choice. How did you do that? You actually chose incorrectly. I didn't even know that was possible. Let me double check. No, it's definitely here, clear as day. Stanley picks up the phone. He's taken to his apartment where he finds his wife, and the two pledge themselves to one another. Music comes in, fade to white, roll credits. Not picking up the phone is actually somehow an incorrect course of action. How is that even possible? None of these decisions were supposed to mean anything. I don't understand. How on earth are you making meaningful choices? What did you... Wait a second. Did I just see... No, that's not possible. I can't believe it. How had I not noticed it sooner? You're not Stanley. You're a real person. I can't believe I was so mistaken. This is why you've been able to make correct and incorrect choices. And to think I've been letting you run around in this game for so long. If you'd made any more wrong choices, you might have negated it entirely. It's as though you completely ignored even the most basic safety.
I'll try this again, just because, I mean, I've run through that one before, but I'm going to get the bucket this time.
Someone was
and then
following Stanley. He was sure of it.
What?
If he checked over his shoulder now, he would surely catch them. It was only a matter of time.
Yeah, what the fuck?
Ah, the embrace of an old friend. A weathered companionship that stands the test of time.
Maybe it's talking about myself being the person who's looking over my
Stanley
shoulder.
clutched the bucket tightly to his chest.
It
This
has
was
to
not
be.
the correct way to the meeting room. But Stanley had felt the bucket
calling to him.
telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go
No.
back to the meeting room.
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift. Yeah, good,
Said the bucket.
Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Oh,
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't
There's a
talk.
minifig.
But Stanley chose
how the hell do I
not
get
to
over
think
there?
about this obvious fact.
I want that minifig
He was
here.
firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
bitch. You wait.
No, stop. Look there on the wall. You see, there's a sign right there. It says, no buckets past this point. Stanley, how could you think it was okay to bring the bucket here? Unless, what if the problem is that you actually don't know what is a bucket and what isn't a bucket? I suppose that would explain a lot about your behavior up to this point. Which, if that's true, well, my goodness, I think we have to do something about it.
This misunderstanding could have dire consequences on the entire rest of the game if not addressed quickly and properly. So much of the impact of the story is dependent on your understanding of what is and isn't a bucket. Please, step in here for a moment.
What? Is this a bucket?
Now then, I'm going to run you through some test scenarios, and you'll tell me whether or not the thing I'm showing you is a bucket. Simple enough, right? This should tell us everything we'll ever need to know about what is or is not a bucket. Okay, let's begin.
Like a good game show.
Item 1. Is this a bucket? Correct. It is a hologram of a bucket, not an actual bucket.
Oh, all right.
Item 2. Is this a bucket? Correct. It is a 3D printed recreation of a bucket, not an actual bucket. Item 3. Is this a bucket? Correct. This is a bucket. Item 4. Is this a bucket? What? Are you hallucinating? This is a tractor. It's an enormous machine that tills the earth. I thought this was a gimmick. How on earth did you manage to screw it up? Absolutely incredible. Let's just move on to the next one.
I'm pretty sure that was a bucket. You know?
Is this a bucket? Correct. This is a bucket.
See, I was right. It's a bucket.
Item 6. Is this a bucket? Trick question. Both. Gotcha.
It's not. It is a bucket and it's not a bucket at the same time. Schrodinger's bucket.
Item... Wait, hold on. I can't find the next one. Let me see. It should be around here somewhere. Okay, you and I both know there isn't anything here. And I don't appreciate the implication that nothing is a bucket when we both clearly know that a bucket is something, and therefore nothing could possibly be something. Unless, in your twisted mind, have you somehow convinced yourself that a bucket is nothing? Answer me straight, Stanley. Do you believe that nothing is a bucket? You know what? I'm too confused to even sort it out. I've lost all sense of perspective. What is a bucket? What isn't a bucket? Mere moments ago I could answer these questions with confidence. And yet now I'm somewhat adrift. Do any of us know what a bucket is? Am I a bucket? Stanley, I can't keep doing this. I'm losing myself, and myself was all I ever had to begin with. I'm afraid the bucket is threatening to tear our relationship apart. I can't have that. I'm sorry. But I'm going to erase all buckets from the game entirely.
No,
Okay,
not the bucket.
Here we go.
No, don't do it. Don't ruin my bucket. No. No, my bucket.
What happened? Is everything gone? Why did everything disappear? Wait, was everything a bucket? Every
Yes,
single thing
it
in the
was a
game was a
bucket.
bucket.
Yes.
Oh my God, I had no idea. How could... Except me. I'm not a bucket after all.
You
and
and I were the only things that weren't
you're
a
still
bucket.
here. You're not a bucket either. Oh, this is wonderful news. We're not buckets.
It's because we're
Yes,
giving buckets.
I actually feel much more at ease right now. It's delightful to get some clarity on that issue, but it doesn't change the fact that we haven't got a game. So, tell you what, I'll reset everything and we'll put back all of the buckets, okay? And
All the
we'll know
buckets.
that it's all a bucket. But if you run into anyone else, maybe don't mention that. Who knows what that information might do to a person? All right, here we go.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? The bucket made Stanley want to be a better man and a better...
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Well, no, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the cargo lift.
Okay, I'm going back to the name of these little Stanley figurines, and now I'm torn between Stanlerines and Figlies. What do you think, Stanley?
I like
What
Figlies.
name better encapsulates the intrinsic sense of happiness that you get from seeing a small number in the corner of your screen go up by 1? Let me sit on it. I'm sure it will come to me.
You like how these boards just completely just don't even care about physics. The end is never the end. The end is never the end. Whoa. Cool. Yo, what? You call them Stanlets? It's like pretty sweet.
Okay, this is day number 295. Tape number... I don't even know. I've lost track. Nothing feels real anymore. The longer I study this bucket, the less sense anything makes. The sheer euphoria I feel every time I pick it up. No matter how many times I've done it, it's always the same feeling. And the emptiness in my chest when I set it down. It doesn't make sense. There's no explanation for it. I still haven't figured out why I see the world so differently when this bucket is in my arms. Why everything feels so... What do I do with this treasure? I can monetize it. Yes. It's unthinkable the amounts of money people will pay for even just an hour with the bucket. This is my golden ticket. But I have to be careful, because as soon as this gets out, there's going to be a target on my back. Even now, I don't know who might be trying to get... What's that? Who's there?
I know it's playing the tape in reverse. It's like... It's the only way they could get the message through. See, now the outside's back to the same.
Already this was uncomfortable, and Stanley decided that as soon as he found a new space he felt safe in, that he would never leave it again in his life.
So if we want to get past that one part, we can't take the bucket with us. So fuck the bucket this time.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Nope, you
It
don't have
was
to police it
okay.
through.
But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Nope, fuck that shit too.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
See how much the penalties for jumping off the cargo lift is $5,000? And misuse of the cargo lift is $1,000?
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you...
What? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something
haven't fallen
bad
off
to
of
happen
it
to you?
yet.
Why, I don't
I
know
haven't
how
done
to
that
convince you of this, but
choice,
I
but
really
I did
do want to
I've
help
just,
you, to show
so
you
not even getting
something
on
beautiful.
the lift, I've just fallen straight down.
Let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance. Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red...
You're getting close now, Stanley. You've nearly gotten all of the Figler and Marines. Very
Figure
soon,
and
you'll
Marines.
collect the last one, and then the first number will equal the second number, and that will be it. We'll be different people by then. Different in the sense that we used to have none of them, and now we have them all. You can't go back to when you had no Figler and Marines. None of us can.
So red or blue? What do you think? What do you think we should do there? Which door do I go? Rojo or azul? I hope I got those right. I believe I did. I know I got rojo, but azul should be right. Blue it is.
Aha! Perhaps you misunderstood. Stanley walked through the red door.
Do we go through the red door? Or do we go through the blue door again? We go through the blue door again? Because fuck
I
that.
still don't think we're communicating properly. Stanley walked through the red door.
Blue door.
All right, fine. Go ahead, Stanley. You want to know so badly what's out there? You want to find out what lies at the end of this road you've chosen? Well, don't let me stop you. You see? There's nothing here. I haven't even finished building this section of the map because you were never supposed to be here in the first place. Broken rooms, exposed developer textures. Is this what you had wanted? Was it worth ruining the entire story I had written out specifically for you? Do you not think I put a lot of time into that? Because I did. And in the end, it was all for nothing, because this is what you wanted to see. Help me here, Stanley. Help elucidate these strange and unknowable desires of yours. What would have made this game better? What did you want to see? Vehicles?
Yes.
Skill trees?
Yes.
Work with me. You've given me absolutely nothing so far. Tell you what, let me take a stab in the dark at a new design, and you can give me some feedback.
Yeah, the narrator
There we
is
go.
just
A
amazing.
third option. This already feels
yes.
leaps ahead of where we were before. Go ahead. Okay, I'm going to stop you there. Now, tell me about your experience with this new version. Would you say that the game benefited from allowing you more choices? Feel free to be honest. I'm looking for some real critical feedback here. Aha! You see, I knew I was onto something. Where do these flashes of inspiration come from? How did I know the game needed a third door? Well, it's instinct mostly, a calling in your gut. I really couldn't say where the idea came from, except that I felt it in my soul. You can't teach that, Stanley. Don't even try. Here, based on the data from your previous playthrough, I've compiled a new version. And to be perfectly candid, I think I've knocked it out of the park with this one. Let's take a look.
Stanley Parable Worldwide Leaderboard? In total, 91,000. Look at that. Just 20.3% of players skip the intro sequence. Only the worst 3% of players. Was it key to get to the red door? Compete against other Stanleys. Improve your Stanley Parable career. Really ranked 90th. The worst. Friends list is empty. 98.9% of players are more attractive than Stanley. A dead rat is actually ranked better than you. Through the third door again.
Now, would you say that competitive leaderboard helped you feel motivated to keep walking through doors? Again, honest answers, please.
What do you think? Should I give it a 5 or a 2? Because, I mean, I did like the leaderboard. It was very nice to have. Gotta figure it out. Do 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 do. Uno, dos, tres, cuatro, cinco. You want to hear the narrator upset? All right, I'm down with that.
Hey, I nearly forgot. I've got a prototype of a new game I've been working on, and now would be a lovely opportunity to give it some playtesting. You wouldn't mind taking a look at it, would you? Perfect. Let me boot it up. In this game,
Yo, what
the
the
baby
fuck?
crawls left towards danger. You click the button to move him back to the right, and if he reaches the fire, you fail. It's a very meaningful game, all about the desperation and tedium of endlessly confronting the demands of family life. I think the art world will really take notice. But of course, the message of the game only becomes clear once you've been playing it for about 4 hours. So why don't you give it 4 hours of play to make sure it's effective? Be sure to keep notes on your experience.
No, fuck you, baby. Going in the fire.
You heartless bastard. Did you do it because you hate babies or purely to spite me? Because if it's the latter, well, I don't know what to do. I'm completely out of ideas. I can't think of a single thing that might improve the experience for me. I'm not even going to try. I'm out. I'm done. It's over. Thank you for playing. Your input was extremely valuable. Oh, hey, since my game was so awful, why don't we play someone else's game, just to ease the pain? Let's see. What do we have here? Yes, this seems like it'll work. Let's give it a shot.
Yo,
Aha! Fascinating. What do you think this game is about,
Firewatch?
Stanley? What's our
Nice.
backstory? What is our motivation? Well, it seems obvious to me that you are meant to play as a creepy man spying on innocent civilians below you from up high in your creep tower, perhaps for some sort of twisted erotic purpose. Yes, that must be it. What a fascinating venture into the experience of total mental depravity. So far, I love everything about
What
this
is
game,
made by the same
Stanley.
people?
And it seems there's even more.
'Cause that'd be hilarious.
Come, let's venture outward and see what else is out there.
No, not the ad break. No. We will wait for our people who are in the ad break, and we will continue once they are back. Space Puffs, everyone's favorite. Woo! Back again. Let's go. I like how we're just like some creepy guy.
Oh no. No, it can't be.
It's got the toilet.
It is. It's an open world game. Good God, quickly block it off. Oh, thank goodness, Stanley. What a close call. You nearly wandered off into that thing. That big, open, just wandering around. No right or wrong directions. No path to follow. You can just go in any... Oh, thank heavens we avoided it. We're out of the woods now, Stanley. Okay, I'm going to get us out of here. Let's find another game. Preferably something with walls. Something with nice, big, insurmountable walls. Okay, I think this will be just the thing.
Rocket League.
Wonderful. See, this is exactly what I had in mind. Just a nice big box for you to run around in. There isn't any possibility that you could get lost here. Now this is game design. Stanley, if you manage to get lost in this game, I will be phenomenally
This
impressed.
is amazing. Just beyond. Just have this like random bullcrap. Just
Okay, so what exactly do we do here? Let's see. There are lots of cars here in the back, but obviously there's no racetrack. Okay, I'm seeing that there's a ball of some kind back here. Is this game sports ball? Stanley, I think it's sports ball. Oh, what fun. We shall run the bases and do a touchdown together. Yes, I think surely we must. Okay, Stanley, here's the ball. Have fun. Are you doing it? Are you winning? Is this fun? Is it better
Fuck
than my
yeah, it
miserable
is.
little story that I worked
Fuck
so hard on?
yes.
Stanley, I have a thought. And I realize I'm not a sportsologist, but if one ball generates a certain amount of raw adrenal pleasure, then surely multiple balls makes for an even more euphoric sports experience. I'm going to try it out. Here comes another ball. Yes! Oh goodness, that really does feel amazing, doesn't it? Stanley, I'm like a child in a confectionery shop. I simply have to have more. I'm insatiable. More balls!
Oh Jesus Christ.
Are you enjoying this, Stanley? Are you having fun? Is this a real video game? Well, I sure hope you're having a good time, because guess what? It's over.
No.
That's right. Your little fun comes to an end. This is my game, and what I say goes. You get to have fun when I let you, Stanley. Besides, you need someone like me to set boundaries for you. Without rules or boundaries, video games are nothing. Yes, that's what I am. I am structure. I'm your sense of purpose. And since you decided you didn't want to play my game, now I don't want to play with you either. So, goodbye, Stanley. I'm leaving. See how you like it when I'm not around to set the rules. Somehow, I don't think you'll enjoy it as much. But who knows? You're an inventive kid. You'll come up with something. After all, you're the one who knows best. Take care, Stanley. Hold on. What are you doing? Stanley, don't do that. I can't follow you there. I can't help you. How will you write a story without me? You can't do it. You know that. Stanley.
Like a never-ending story. Was this like the original? Because to be honest, I never played the original. That's the thing. So I this is the first like Stanley Parable I've played. It's the Ultra Deluxe. So everything that happened in the other stuff, in the other Get Hard games, I don't know. Shit's wild. Holy shit.
I wonder what he found. If what he wanted was to be the leading man in his own story, well, perhaps he's gotten it. Down in wherever he is right now.
Minecraft.
I
That'd be
wonder if
pretty
he's
sweet,
happy with
actually.
his choice, and if he's learned the heavy cost that comes with it. He'll understand soon what I was trying to tell
I can see
him.
Half-Life.
He needs me. Someone who will wrap everything up at the end to make
Actually upload
sense
the
out of the
first part of
chaos and the fear
to
and the
YouTube
confusion. That's
of
who
my
I
first
am.
part of the playthrough.
That is what I mean to this world. Oh, yes. Yes, I'll be back. There's no other way. Once this ends, after it all comes to a close, then I'll be
Because
back.
the parable of Flat Stanley will
The
be
end
told
will
to
be
the
here
world.
soon. Very soon. I can wait.
All right. Well, see, yeah, I can see the definitely being different. It also is very different to do, very little to do with the full game. I can believe it too. All right, well, we've been going on. I'm gonna call it here. Thank everyone for joining us. Thank you, Lyra. Been great seeing all of y'all. You know, stay awesome, stay friendly, stay cool, stay lovely. You know, hope you all have a good night, evening, morning, day, wherever you're at. I love each and every one of y'all. That's not the joke where A came from. But again, I shall move on. But yes, love you all. And I will see y'all again soon. Good night.